My favourite leadership line is, make it so.
Welcome to the Starfleet Leadership Academy, a leadership development podcast told through the lens of Star Trek. And now, here's your host, Jeff Aiken.
Welcome, everyone, to a special episode of the Starfleet Leadership Academy. We even kind of had Kirk handle the intro there. Thanks, Captain. I had the recent opportunity to visit with an amazing person that has developed an impressive reputation as a leader and as someone who, someone who just gets stuff done. Gordon Tredgold is renowned for delivering projects well ahead of their deadlines. In fact, he delivered a project valued at $30 million in a sixth of the time it was estimated to take. A sixth! Today, he and I talk about our mutual love of Star Trek, and then Gordon shares some absolutely incredible lessons in leadership from his decades of experience, his books, and his role as a highly sought-after speaker. So join me as I share the conversation I had with Gordon, and honestly, I recommend taking notes. He shares some incredible knowledge.
Yeah, I was thinking about innovation and just how, I'm 60, so I was 9, 10, I think, when Star Trek started coming out, and it was the first sci-fi for me that was truly innovative, because I don't think anybody watched Buck Rogers and thought, yeah, at some point we'll be on those little things with the sparks coming out the back of it. Whereas with Star Trek, it did kind of have that feel of possible future technology rather than just crazy ramblings of the set designers. We tend to think that they had huge budgets, but actually they were just truly innovative, working with what they had. I was also a big fan of Doctor Who. I don't know if you were saw any of that, but they for about 7 or 8 series, any planet they went to was just some quarry in the north of England. Why does every planet look like grey slate? It's the only set we've got. Get over it. We'll put a few trees and throw a few things in, put a filter on it, but other than that, we're good to go. So the reason I mentioned I was born in 60 is because I was 9 when it came out, and it was jaw-dropping. I mean, you look on it, we look back on it now, and it's not as dated as some things, but at the time it was out of worldly. It was, as I say, it wasn't Buck Rogers where they just had tights and some artificial thing with sparks coming out of the back of it, flying along.
Gordon's a little older than I am, and I really appreciate the different perspective he has on the effects and the visual quality of the original series. I remember watching The Next Generation as a kid and thinking, like, there was no way effects could ever look any better than that. Boy, was I wrong. Well, Gordon then talks about his experience working in IT. I think his story starts as a familiar one for many of us. But after he shares his story, he challenges one of my base assumptions about leadership.
I see this in IT that, I spent 4 years coding, a year in design, 2 years in test management, and then I got accelerated into project management because I was really good at what I did.
A great resume to kick things off, right? Well, I dive in with one of my foundational beliefs about leadership. That is that leaders do not need to be experts in the work the people on their team are responsible for. But Gordon pushes back on that assumption, and honestly, I love where he takes it.
So I actually have a different perspective, but it's rough. It's similar. We have to be smart enough, not necessarily knowledgeable. And the reason I say that is because I'm a huge fan of Einstein and his quote of, if you can't explain it to an 8-year-old, you don't understand it. I'm not 8, explain it to me. Explain it to me in a way that, because I'm smart, and I get I don't have a degree in network, but walk me through it like you would a small child. And if you can't do that, you don't understand it. And this is one of the things that we have to do, is get them to do that. And the number of times I was in Fort Worth at the crew rostering system. And crew rostering's pretty complicated because you've got the different flights, different crews, they're going to different direct destinations. You can only work so many hours. So it's a logistics, it's like trying to keep 9 plates spinning at the same time. And I said to the guy that was presenting it, I said, okay, could you explain to me the algorithm a little bit and how you do that? And he just said to me, you'd have to have a degree in mathematics to understand that. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's right. Gordon graduated from the Manchester Institute of Science and Technology in 1984 with a degree in mathematics.
I said, well, I have a degree in mathematics. Explain it to me. And he went, I don't understand it. And a lot of times we just have to call people on their stuff. Because one of the things I always say, if you can't explain it to me, how are you going to explain it to your team who have to do it? If you can explain it to me in terms of, I'm going to connect the positive to the negative and the negative to the positive, and that'll create a circuit and electricity will flow, I can get, okay, yeah, I can see that. What happens if we get it wrong? Oh, well, this happens. Okay, yeah, well, we don't want to do that. And I can follow and I can add some value and ask questions that, bring my intellect to a subject I'm not knowledgeable about because you told me what we're going to do. And a lot of time, it's like running. There's only 2 ways to run faster. Take longer strides, take more steps per minute. That's it. There is nothing. So a lot of time, we can be speaking to people who are like super knowledgeable about athletics, nutrition, stretching, but, well, are you taking longer strides? Or are you taking more strides per minute? Because this is what we need in people that are leading. That inherent, that kind of level of smart to be able to look at it and go, okay, ask how that's going to work. And that's what I do now. When I was first at university, it was punch cards. So and there's no way I can keep up with the technology. But what I can do is I can keep up with the concepts of business, which is data gets captured, it gets manipulated and stored, and then it gets manipulated and represented to the person looking at it. Okay, so tell me how we're doing that. Tell me what, so as long as we understand the principles of things, it's pretty easy to do. But because a lot of these people have done a PM, come out of college, they've got a good degree and they've got intelligence, but they don't have expertise or experience.
After that, we brought the conversation back around to Star Trek and what leadership looks like there. I brought up how Picard asked for opinions from his crew in the recent Starfleet Leadership Academy episode on Code of Honor. But Gordon here really dives into a leader's job. Spoiler alert, their job is not to come up with the best answer on their own. And that, well, maybe expectedly, then we kind of start off the classic Kirk versus Picard discussion.
Deanna, what's the diplomatic option? Worf, what's the kick-ass option? Do we have any technical options? Could we just run away very, very... So he'll get that diversity of option, and then he'll pick the best one. And it's not a leader's job to come up with the answer. It's a leader's job to select the best of the answers presented. And I think this is one of the big differences between Star Trek and Next Generation. Kirk was just like, right, this is what we're going to do. Or he'd ask Spock, whereas Picard is like, yeah, I don't know. I'm the captain. You're the security guy. You're the engineer. You tell me. Okay. And then my favorite leadership line is make it so. Yeah, go do it. You've come up with the answer. Go do it. Kirk didn't do that. Kirk had that desire to be it was a different period where, we all want to be the hero, and he was the hero. Picard's like, yeah, I don't need to be the hero. I just need it done. And that's the leadership style that allows you to go up the ranks, because if you have to do everything, there's a limit on what you can do with your hands. Whereas if you just want it done, you can delegate to the world and his brother. You can lead a team of 1,000 people and leverage their capability to deliver amazing results.
It seems so simple, right? I mean, you have to be able to scale your leadership in order to promote and to take on more responsibility. You have to wonder if Kirk's ultimate failure as an admiral had something to do with that. In the films, he took the first opportunity to play the hero's role again. He took over command from Decker in the motion picture, Spock in The Wrath of Khan. I mean, albeit with Spock's blessing, but still, Gordon's point here really resonates for me in terms of Kirk's career.
Confidence is crucial. And I think everybody had confidence in Kirk to get it resolved. So they would follow him because of that. Whereas Picard, he had the confidence in them and went, guys, I believe in you. So the confidence, he was pushing that confidence, hey guys, you've got this, let's go do it. Whereas with us, it was kind of like, okay, Kirk's got this, we'll follow him. So, and I tend to think of that as, one's more leading from the front, the other's a little bit leading from behind. Yeah, knock yourself out, go do that, that'll be fine. Come back and let me know when it's done. Okay, you go over there, get that done. When it's done, come back, let me know. And that's a much more, as I say, it's a much more expansive and more important way to have impact. But one of the things about Picard, and again, being old enough to watch it live, as it were, the first 2 or 3 episodes, I hated it. I thought, my God, Picard, what a wuss. This ain't going to work. And then about 3 or 4 episodes in, he just found his feet and was like, you know what? Yeah, I am in charge. And then he had that kind of commanding personality. Whereas with Kirk was a little bit different. He was all, from the get-go, he had that cult of personality. Whereas that Picard getting comfortable with other people being comfortable just took a little bit of time for him to get his feet under the table, as it were. But, but I think a much better leader because of the style.
And then we really get into the Kirk versus Picard discussion.
I think as well, they were both products of their time. And I think as well, Kirk, I would say Picard was a more standard kind of leader, whereas Kirk was a little bit of a rebel. It was like, yeah, I know what they want to do, but we ain't doing that. I've got a plan, we're going this way. So he was like, he kind of had that maverick style. So he wasn't your classical, submarine commander, tell me what we're going to do and blah, blah, blah. He was pretty much, I'll roll the sleeves up, I'll get in, we'll do it a little bit differently and we'll bend the rules. And I think that is part of what made him attractive as well.
Gordon pivoted quickly into how Kirk's style applies to project management. I found this fascinating because the prototypical project manager tends, to appear to be like just a total by the book kind of person. But Gordon's brilliant analysis shows how Kirk's more maverick style actually puts people in a place of problem solving.
I mean, I don't know if you know this, that on projects that fail, IBM research, on projects that fail, 75% of the time, people knew day one it was going to fail. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point. Whereas if you're following something like Kirk and you're thinking, well, I'm not sure this will work, but I know he's going to, he's going to bend the rules. He's, Kobayashi Maru. If he'll reprogram some shit. He doesn't care who he upsets. So you always feel you've got a chance, which then it takes you. One of the things that I talk about is that when you think it's going to fail and you see it failing, you go, told you. And you're in that I told you so mode. When you think it's going to succeed and it starts failing, you go, what the hell's going on? And you step forward into solution mode. And I think with Kirk, because he has that I'll challenge it, I'll bend the rules, I'll do whatever, when he goes forward, people are going forward with him in solution mode. So it is a slightly different Yeah, it's a different mentality to Picard, but it's one that works. But I think there becomes a limit of what you can do. You know, Picard could go on and become the admiral of the Starfleet because he has that. Okay, it's just a bigger group now. Tell me what you want to do. Okay, now go do it.
But how do you grow and promote into that next level, though? How does a Picard go on to be admiral? Gordon wrote a great article about the 5 stages of leadership. The link is in the show notes. But in this next part of the conversation, he walks us through exactly what the stages are and how a leader evolves and grows over time.
So I actually created this graphic. Basically, it's about 5 stages of leadership. And a lot of people talk about 5 stages, but they do it in a little bit different way to how I tend to think of it. I tend to think of stage 1 is when you're the informal leader. So you don't have the position, but it's like, you know what, I'm going to step up. I'm going to support people. I'm going to contribute. I'll speak up if I don't agree. Then you've got the expert leader, somebody like Scotty who knows so much about engineering. He's got to be in charge of engineering. But then you've got to go to that next level. So there's like the team leader, and then there's the expert leader, which is like level 3. But then to go to that next level, you've got to get outside of your area of expertise. So you've now got to be working with head of engineering, head of weapons, head of diplomacy. And now you've got to be much more engaging and empowering because you want them to do the job. And then that next level is what I call the inspirational leader, where you're actually creating the culture of the organization you're setting the tone, but not necessarily taking the action. So you're setting the direction, the tone for the organization. This is what we're going to be like. But at every single level in that, what got you to level 3 won't get you to level 4. You've got to pivot. And then from 4 to 5, you've got to figure out how to become inspiring. And a lot of times it's about expert leader, Scotty can get the spanners out and can go down and say, stand back, I've got this. But at that next level, you've got to be, it's more hands off. So you've got to be much more people savvy. You've got to engage and inspire, empower them, and have them believe in you in order to go there. So yeah, you're right about the archetype. And I think we get to a level, we get comfortable with it, and people don't want to give it up.
Fascinating, right? I mean, it makes total sense, and it really, really resonates for me. I think a lot of people place value in their professional identity based on the level they're at. An expert leader, for example, feels secure as that expert, and to give that up really requires great humility. I asked Gordon about this and how to feel successful as you progress through the stages. He says it's all about how you measure your success and your value, really kind of like moving the goalposts.
I'm really smart, and they have to let go of being the hero and be comfortable in creating more heroes. And for alpha males and females, that's a tough gig. You can't. It's like, Kirk, we need to go down and fight the monster on the planet. I'll do it. No, we've got somebody else. No, I'm Kirk. That's what I do. It's who I am. Yeah, we don't need you for this. We've got somebody else. It's tough to give it up because we tie our sense of self-worth into the role. And once that goes, then our self-worth goes with it. But we just got to keep, that evolving and moving on up.
He went on to share some of his personal story on his journey through the stages, evolving from an expert in IT to an expert in leadership.
I used to be an expert in IT. Now I work in IT, and I'm an expert in leadership who happens to work in IT. To be honest, to me, what people are doing today is so different from what I did when I was hands-on. They could be building spaceships for all I know. But what I'm good at is creating an environment in which they can be successful. And a lot of times, you were talking about agile before. One of the things about agile is one of the reasons Agile fails is because Agile requires us to give up control to the people doing the work and say, what do you think? When do you think it will be done by? And we don't want to do that. There's people who've made a career of saying it'll be done by Friday, or there'll be heads will roll. And the louder I shout, the more likely. No.
Whoa, shots fired. It's a hot take on Agile. Well, keep your cool, PMs out there, because really, can you really disagree with him at all? I love this example. It really highlighted, at least for me, that the fear people have in giving up control. It's that fear of giving up power. But as you know, if you practice Agile, it works. It works if you just trust the experts and allow them to be honest with their timelines. Gordon explains further.
When we empower people and we ask them, we get a lot more out of them. But again, it's that move towards servant leadership of, our role is to serve our teams, put them into a situation where they can be successful. That's our job. If I tell you, you've got to get this done by Friday, and you don't believe it can be done, then you're not going to accept accountability. Whereas when I say to you, when can this get done by? Tuesday. You sure? Yeah. Now you own it. Now there's the degree of accountability. It's your goal. And if you don't achieve it, now we can have an interesting conversation. Whereas, if you don't hit the goal that I set, that you said was impossible, you're just going to tell me, but I told you that was impossible. Yeah, I know, but did you not see me bang the table? Did you not see my cheeks flush? Did you not hear me say, heads will roll?
Heads will roll. Now that's a motivating and effective phrase I've seen used before. How about you? We revisited after this the topic of servant leadership and how it's about setting goals, providing tools, and then ultimately having your teams back.
Now, there is another part to it, which is the John F. Kennedy. I know you weren't thinking about this, but by the end of the decade, we're going to put a man on the moon. So what? Yeah, I've just moved the goalposts, but we've got 9 years, and I'm going to give you the tools to do it. So you've got that, that part of the leadership where we're setting the vision, where we're pushing the envelope and we're setting it up. But it's about 2%. Because once that goal's set, it's now all about prep, planning, execution, confidence building, empowering the people. And then the best way to do that is say, hey, what do you need? Yeah, I mean that is a big part of leadership, showing the team that you've got their back. The number of times when bosses say, so what went wrong here? And you just see the boss, his direct report step back and go, does somebody else want to? And it's like you just go and go, hey, you know what? We screwed up. I signed off on it. If you're gonna hit somebody, you hit the next guy down. You don't step out of the way because if they start doing that with your team, they're never gonna step up for you. Never in a million years. And my boss he was a big one for, yeah, I know it's not you. I want to know who it was. And what we saw was that when he got into difficulty, nobody had his back beneath him because we knew he would throw us under the bus. It was like, hey, you know what? You're on your own. Whereas when we protected our team, if we were getting into trouble, then they would come and step with us and do it. But it's a reciprocal agreement, and it starts with the leader. We define the culture. And if the culture is throwing people under the bus, they'll leave us under the bus.
And let's be real. When has throwing someone under the bus ever actually helped a problem? Yeah, that's not the culture I'd aspire to. What I would aspire to, though, is a diverse workforce that is welcoming and inclusive to everyone. That's when you can really get the most out of people, when they feel they're free and comfortable bringing their whole and true selves to work. And hey, you know a great model for what that looks like? Yep, that's right. Star Trek. Now, Star Trek is a product of its time. So each series, each iteration moves us closer to the image of that perfect environment. But even with that, Trek has forged paths very, very few others have.
It was way ahead of its time for the diversity. You've got Will, you've got the young kid in there. You've got the alien. You've got the Diana and the Doctor. It had a much more diverse and inclusive feel to it as well. I mean, how many women were there in Star Trek? Was there 3? Janice Rand. There was Uhura, and then there was some woman who was occasionally part of Starfleet Command. That's right. You had the blonde in the short skirt, the nurse, and head of communication, and that was it. And then the next one, the Doctor is a woman, head of security is a woman, head of diplomacy is a woman, and a lot more female characters as well. And then Janeway.
And then he hit me with the big question.
So what's your favorite episode?
Whoa there, Gordon. I'm the one asking questions here, right? Now, I had to think about this one for a while. I mean, really, for me at least, it depends on what day of the week or even what time of day it is. But I said that at this moment, right now, when we were talking, the Balance of Terror from TOS is my favorite. So what's Gordon's favorite episode?
Tribbles. Yeah, I just like a problem that they're born pregnant. It's just out of control. You turn your back on it for a minute and boom, it needs dealing with.
Honestly, though, who doesn't love or at least appreciate the Tribbles episodes, right? Now, at this point, I just let Gordon talk. What his passion is, what he's working on, and how you can learn more about him.
My whole passion is about helping. Well, I wrote an article on it today, actually, the leadership quadrant diagram. And you've got people who've got good people skills, bad people skills, good delivery skills, bad delivery skills. And we seem to have a lot of people who've got great delivery skills, but they're just assholes. And we can't, you can't de-asshole somebody. That's a character change, and a lot of the training we have tries to do that. But the problem is the people that have those tendencies, either one, they don't admit it, or they don't want to change. My goal is to help people who have got some good management skills become great leaders. So people that are fundamentally nice, help them deliver, understand what delivery is. And so that's what I'm all focused about, just giving people tools. I've written 1,500 articles on leadership so people can go out there and they can find that stuff. I do have a course I've been doing. I've got a couple of books I wrote. One's called Leadership, It's a Marathon, Not a Sprint. And then the second one is called Fast. And Fast is about the 4 principles every business needs for success. And I was a turnaround expert, and my job was find out why things are failing and fix it. And having done that, I realized there's a lot of commonality to what's failing, and I kind of characterize it as a lack of focus, accountability, simplicity, and transparency. And if you fix those 4 things, focus is what, accountability is who, simplicity is how, and transparency is how far have we come and how far do we need to go. And if you fix those 4 things, then that will not only be failing but help you deliver. So that's a book that I've written, and a lot of my coaching and courses take that on. And if any of your listeners are interested, we'll give them a link to a free PDF download of that. Management Book of the Year finalist in 2017. People ask me, were you not upset you didn't win it? No, because I beat Alex Ferguson, who was a manager of Manchester United. I got to the final 5. He didn't. My team hates his team. It's a win. Leeds 1, Manchester United 0. And if people want to find me, I am the only Gordon Tredgold in the world. So just pop that into Google. You'll find the website, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Reach out and connect. I'm very approachable, and I tend to respond to most people who reach out and engage.
The link to that is in the show notes, along with links to Gordon's website and his Twitter. I couldn't let him go without asking about the TEDx talk that he did. He'll tell you the story here, but he did it in French. Why? Well, listen to find out.
I did a TEDx talk in French because I wanted the challenge, and I did this talk on 4 principles for achieving big results. Aim high, start small, celebrate, and just keep going, because the majority of big successes are just an accumulation of small successes. We were talking about football. To get to 35 points, you've got to score 7 touchdowns. There isn't any 35-point touchdown. It's a grind. It is an accumulation. So, if you can develop persistence, it is an absolute talent multiplier. I am not a great writer, but the fact that I've written 1,500 articles now gets me recognized as somebody who's great at writing a lot. No, but it's true. I get recognized for it, but I wouldn't say I was a great writer. I've just been prodigious.
Command codes verified.
There was a lot of great and informative stuff in there. GordonTredgold.com will get you to his website. That link is also in the show notes. I want to take a minute to talk about the 5 stages of a leader he brought up, as well as the 4 things you need to pay attention to in order to effectively deliver.
The Starfleet Leadership Academy is supported by listeners just like you. Click the link in the show notes to support the ongoing production of this podcast.
If you remember, Gordon talked about the 5 stages of leadership: informal leader, hands-on leader, expert leader, engaging and enabling leader, and influential leader. This is a journey leaders follow that, in Star Trek terms, takes you from like a crew member to a division lead to a department head to captain and then to an admiral. What I found interesting in his discussion on this is how important it is you change the parameters of your success as you progress. As a division lead, say, like Rom in DS9.
Starting today, I'm one of the station's diagnostic and repair technicians. Junior grade, night shift.
You measure success by how many repairs you finished in a day, where Scotty, as a department head, is likely measuring success based on how many division leads met their goals. As you progress to an engaging and enabling leader, and finally an influential leader, you start measuring your success based on how many leaders you're creating. So where do you land on these stages? Where would you like to land? Gordon says the tools that brought you to your current level won't be the tools that take you to the next level. So what are you doing to get those tools, to build those skills? Listen to the episode DS9, Return to Grace. In there, I talk about how Dukat dresses for the job he wants. Those same principles apply here. Another great insight Gordon shared was that there are people that are very nice, but can't deliver, and people that can deliver, but, well, they're total jerks.
Let's drop the ranks for a moment. I don't like you, and I don't think you're a particularly good first officer.
He helps bring those two together so you can lead with kindness and compassion, but also deliver timely and high-quality work products. He says you need to address these 4 things to actually deliver: focus, accountability, simplicity, and transparency. Focus is what, accountability is who, simplicity is how, and transparency is how far have we come and how far do we need to go. So examine your tasks through these lenses. What is being done? What is the task? Who is responsible for doing it? How are they doing it? And what is their progress? Focusing on these 4 aspects will bring these 2 extremes together. Now, notice that doing the thing isn't listed in the 4. To be an effective leader that leads with kindness and also delivers means that you are not the one doing the thing. You're empowering, you're enabling the people to do the thing. Now, that's not always easy to accept, but Gordon talked about this earlier in the episode, right? To scale your leadership, to lead at a higher level, you have to be able to engage, enable, and influence others to do the work that their expertise allows them to do. A huge thank you to Gordon Tredgold for joining us here. I learned so much from him, and I'm so grateful for his time. You can learn more about him at GordonTredgold.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at, yep, you guessed it, at Gordon Tredgold. And you can follow me too. I'm on Twitter at SFLA Podcast, and you can follow me across all the social media at Jeff T. Aiken. Jeff, T as in, yep, Tredgold, A-K-I-N. And join us on Facebook in the Starfleet Leadership Academy group. We'll be talking about all the takeaways from this discussion. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in our next episode as we continue to watch Star Trek and discuss the leadership lessons it offers us. So until then, ex astra scientia.